Okay. Then we will make a switch to English. Thank you for being here, and I will give the word to you to tell us about the developments and your visions regarding AI.
Cool. Thank you so much. And I did have apologies from Marcel and then apologies from myself. One for talking to my cat earlier and not being muted. That was very embarrassing for me. Um, but yes, I do have a presentation and it will all be in English. So I do also apologize for that. It was quite last minute. And my Dutch is non-existent, I have to say. And I'm going to assume all of you are amazing at English as well, which just doubles my embarrassment. So, yes, I do have a presentation. Let me make sure that I share it with sound because there is some video involved, which I hope you will all be able to hear. And I will get into it. So, let's make sure we've got audio. Include sound. There's that toggle. And then I need to share it. Oh, presentations are not my strong suit either. So this is always going to be fun. Play from the start. Then go back to the meeting. Then share my screen. Then include sound. Then click on this. There we go. Hopefully you can see all of that. I can see
Yes,
my
we
screen
can
on
see
there.
it very well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your patience and joining me today while I introduce the AI features that we have been working on at SmartBox and alongside KMD as well, who are part of the SmartBox family. So yes, my name is James. I am the head of our user experience department in SmartBox. So I work alongside our R&D teams, working on the design of Grid and many of our other products for AAC. And I've recently been very much involved in the integration of new AI features within Grid. So you've just had some presentations from the other companies, and I really hope I'm not going to be going over too much of the stuff that other companies have been speaking about. But I do know I did overhear earlier you talking about 11 labs and things, and that is one of the things which we've been integrating in Grid. So I'm going to be talking about our first major AI feature, which we integrated into Grid last year, which was the Fix tool, and also about 11 Labs Voices, which we also integrated last year. And then I'm also going to be introducing a new feature that is not out yet, which I've been working very hard on in the last few weeks alongside everyone else at SmartBox. But that will be something a bit at the end, which I will talk about a bit more, including a live demonstration. So this has also more potential to go wrong for me, but I am excited to demonstrate it anyway, because who doesn't love a live presentation of something? So before I begin, really, we often think at SmartBox what matters as a communicator. So these are 10 things which have been brought up by the SLTs and the people that we're working alongside as like just 10 areas that really matter to people as AAC communicators and like what are the benefits of AAC. So we're often thinking about these things when we're working within our R&D departments, when we're developing new features or when we're developing new products about do these products meet any of these needs? And then we look to make sure essentially that when we release something new into the world that it is hitting some of these points, that it's going to be improving someone's emotional well-being, it's going to be improving the connection that people have with each other, it's going to be providing rich conversation. So when we started our AI projects, these 10 points really became really important to us because we want to make sure that everything that we do is adding something into the software and is adding something to AAC communicators' lives that is really improving the usage of AAC. So that also goes alongside what we also worked on developing, which were principles around how we view AI. And I know that this is something that is really on the tip of everyone's on the top of the list when someone starts talking about AI, particularly when it's applied to AAC, is that like, how is this really going to look? How is this going to influence both professionals, but also the communicators themselves? But also there's features like privacy and transparency. So we came up with 6 principles that we also hold ourselves accountable to. And we also did a lot of research around and discussion with users of our software and other AAC users as well, to make sure that these are fundamental principles that we can be proud of and we can hold ourselves to when we're developing AI features within our software. So these include AI should assist, not replace human communication. That people come first, like people's choice, people's decision making to use or not use these features. Privacy is really fundamental to all AAC users and all of us, and that needs to also be built into whatever it is we're building. Transparency and control, like the AI system should be obvious that it's working and also be obvious when it is not working. It should also be easy to opt in or out of these services. We have an ongoing responsibility. That's actually something more which came from our side, that I recently visited the US and I went to the ATIA conference, and we saw a lot of presentations from AAC users and their supporters and families, which were talking about the fact that AI is here, AI is being built into our technology. These large language models are everywhere, whether you like them or not, and that it is our responsibility to help people access these services if they so choose to use them. And that oversight matters, human oversight, the user's oversight, that their AI, this kind of goes back to point 1, that AI is an assistant for it. It's not a replacement, it is an assistant. And there's a really good paper, which I've been citing a lot, which is the use of artificial intelligence in augmentative and alternative communication, about the community consultation, which was done at the Communication Matters conference a couple of years ago by Tom Griffiths, Rowan Slaughter, and Alu Waller. So if you do want to read more about that, that's a great paper. So where does SmartBox's journey begin with all of this? Well, let me just check got my dates right. Late 2023 into 2024, and then throughout 2025 as well. We've been working on a research partnership with the ALS Association in the US, ALS, MND, etc. And they highlighted that a major challenge for people using text AAC in particular is slow, and that they believed that using a large language model could be something that would help speed up the text input, but also the text output of a AAC device, particularly focused on the ALS MND text-based literate user at that point. And we took this project and we were really excited to start doing a lot of background research, a lot of interviews, a lot of visiting users throughout the UK and the US to really understand how they were using their systems as they stand now, but also gain their thoughts and feelings about how it could be improved, potentially also including AI. So one of the things which we learned throughout this research project was that users were making a lot of mistakes when they were typing using their devices. And that is not just mistakes as in they said the wrong word. It's more that they just made a spelling mistake, or they hit the wrong target when they meant to hit another target. And we quickly realized that a really quick win for us, particularly as something which we could prototype and validate quite quickly, was could we prevent mistakes, or could we fix a mistake using the large language models that we were using? So the number which I cite is that I had a conversation with an AAC user up north in the UK, where our conversation was an hour and a half long. However, 30 minutes of that, when we looked back at the footage of it, was simply mistakes being corrected or mishits on the device using eye gaze. So we wanted to create something that could solve that and help the user just power on through a sentence and then correct it at the end. And that's where the idea for the fix tool was born. So the fix tool is now live in Grid. It was released last year, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. But what the fix tool essentially does, if I actually bop to the next slide, it's designed for text AAC users, and it is in our text talker and fast talker grid sets. So it is available now in Grid, and it essentially enables any user while you're typing to, if you make a mistake, you don't have to hit backspace, you don't have to hit last word, you don't have to try it again. You can just power on through that sentence, and then you can correct it. You can the AI looks at the sentence that you were gathering, creating even, and then it will analyze the context in which you were writing. So unlike a lot of spell check and unlike a lot of prediction, it takes into account the entire sentence. And it also takes into account things like abbreviations and punctuation as well. And it will correct the sentence into something that can be spoken aloud correctly, because obviously speech engines like to have correctly spelled words to get them to pronounce correctly. So it's accessible using touch, switch, pointer, and eye gaze, and it is available as a command that can also be added into any other grid set. So if you're using, say, a symbol communication grid set with a keyboard, or if you're using AlphaCore, or even like a really custom grid set, it is a command that can just be added into those grid sets using Grid's edit mode. And this goes back to what we were trying to basically, some of the problems which were raised by the ALS Association, but also which apply to many of the other AAC users, is that we want to be improving the speed and quality of communication of people using Grid, because it reduces barriers in building relationships, it helps you engage with the world, and it helps with maintaining independence. So this gives the user that quick way to keep chatting, to be specific, to keep up in conversation when things are going too fast and they might be stressed and making too many mistakes because of their access method, etc. And that kind of takes us back to these 10 points that I've had pointed out to me as part of this presentation, that it really helps with the ability to say what you want. It helps with self-esteem, so not as many mistakes are coming out. And this can also be applied to text-based communication as well. So you can use it for generating text messages. You can use it for WhatsApp. You can use it for messaging on Facebook. You can use it when you're writing an email as well. And it really helps improve the richness of conversation there as well. So we were really proud to introduce this last year, and yes. And this slide kind of goes over what I was already talking about. The other thing which I should say is that the tool, going back to those principles of, well, what if it makes a mistake? What if the AI misunderstands what I was trying to write? And that is why, for one thing, we do not automatically read out what it says on the screen, but we also do not automatically overwrite everything. You can press undo, and we've actually made undo something which is quite close to the bottom. So if I just bop to the next screen here, you can see that the fix tool is located right next to the undo button. So if it does get something wrong, you can hit undo and then normal correction can take place as well. So yes, highlighting here that it picks up missed punctuation, missed out vowels using abbreviations, and this works in a number of languages. So we've tested in nearly every language that Grid supports. So that does include Dutch, but also French, German, Spanish, and pretty much everything else that we support. And yes, this is just going back to that control point. So you can just simply press undo if it does get it wrong. It will try and stick closely to words. It doesn't try to correct grammar. So we do want to make sure that that's still however the user wants to speak. And this is the next point where I get to find out if I've shared sound correctly. So this is a quote from TJ, and if I could get a thumbs up in the thing if this actually plays when I hit.
I am already very quick, but it does save time when I make small spelling errors. I no longer have to move the cursor and delete the wrong letters. I can just leave it as is, and the fix tool will, well, fix it for me.
Nice. So that was from TJ, one of our testers. They've been using this feature since before it launched and have integrated it across 3 languages, which is fantastic. And then this is a quote from Andy, who actually works in our support team in the UK. So he's also been using the fix tool as part of his professional practice.
As an AAC user who uses a head tracker, I frequently speak at meetings, prepare documents, write emails and use social media. The fix tool has made my typing-related workload so much more efficient, and it gives me a sense of confidence in the way that I can type the message quicker.
So yes, which is what I like to hear. I like to hear user feedback from all of these tools ultimately, because I work in user experience, it matters to me. But also what I really love is data. So on this next slide, we pulled some data from December this year about how people have been using this tool and how it's actually had an impact on our users. So within Grid, we have what's called a telemetry service. This is basically us tracking the usage of Grid. It's not tracking what you're saying. This is a thing which I've had to clarify several times, but we track the usage of new features and like how often things are activated and where they're being activated. And also we need to monitor whether or not something is a success. And particularly as we're based in Bristol in the UK, we really care worldwide how things are being used. So this chart here breaks down the acceptance of fixed tool usage from December. So from December the 31st to 31st, 2025, we counted nearly 40,000 activations of the fixed tool across all of our users who have opted in to our telemetry service, which is about 40% of all active Grid users. Within that, we break down what we decide to call success, a pass, which is also a success for us, a clear, which means someone hits clear without speaking. And then we also correct up, like we look for failures and recorrections as well. And then we have a number of unknowns, which is what we actually can't track. So we'll track that and we'll figure out what that is, but it's unknown to us right now. But within our service, we were pleased to see that we had about 12,000 successes of usages of the service. A pass is about 3,000 usage. A pass means that the fixed tool was activated and then the user continued to edit the sentence. So if they corrected a sentence and then continued typing and then pressed speak. Clear means that it was corrected and then cleared, which we think is a gray area because we understand that a lot of AAC users actually don't speak aloud. Sometimes they copy it into a text message, or also they show their screen to someone. So it's not always spoken communication, but also that could just be a clear as well. And we really count a failure as in someone hitting an undo, which is about 4,000, and then a recorrection, which means it was corrected, then the user added something, and then they hit correct again, was about 4,000. So broadly, we're really pleased to see this, and the usage is growing over time. I haven't had a chance to pull the same chart from 2026 yet, but this is from a few months ago. And we have seen an increase in usage as well as the feature has matured and has been available for longer. All right, so that's Fix Tool. There's a few other good to know things. It's opt-in, not opt-out. This is important. Again, going back to those principles that I spoke about right at the beginning of this presentation, that our Fix Tool is opt-in, and I will talk about that a little bit more later as well. There's no sign-in needed. It's just built into Grid as an online tool. So if you have opted in and your device is online, you do not need to sign in. There's no accounts needed for this. There's no usage limit as well. So in technical terms, that means that yes, SmartBox is footing the bill for this, but also it's not expensive for us to run these services. So we want to make sure that it is open and usage for every AAC user, and they're not going to hit a bespoke limit at any point. The data, which we don't collect data from using this service, but it does go to an AI model, but the AI model is a commercial API, which is not used for training of future AI models and is kind of siloed away from the large language models that people are learning to know and love. Also, the usage is anonymous. I'll talk a bit more about that again. And also it works in all writing areas, but we have been working on some future developments that may make it a bit more specific depending on the usage of the tool. So if it's writing an email, does it need to write in a different way to if it's writing for speech? Okay, so that's Fix Tool. I can't believe I've spoken for nearly 20 minutes about that. I need to speed up. But the next bit is about 11 Labs. So I'm sure you are familiar with 11 Labs voices because I did just hear it being spoken about by Assistiveware earlier. But we integrated with 11 Labs around June last year. And I have a video with which to show you, and I just need to make sure I'm streaming it at the optimized rate because I do forget to do
Sorry,
that.
James, can I just interrupt you for 1
Yes,
second?
of
We
course.
have a question in the chat about the Fix Tool, so maybe I can ask it right now. Does it use the API of ChatGPT or another company?
So yes, we are using ChatGPT for the Fix Tool. We've built a model. I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but our connection to ChatGPT is monitored by what we call Smart Connect, because everything in SmartBox is smart something. That is a third party, or not third party, wait, it's a sort of intermediary service, which basically lets us monitor the AI model that we're using. And that enables us to change out models. So we're currently actually in review of a number of different suppliers and AI models so that we can basically move away from ChatGPT when and if we so choose. Depends on many things. But yes, we're currently using the O4 mini model, which is very fast. But yes, we're always evaluating new models. So the ones from Anthropic, ones from Google, etc. as well. And we place in the way of that a third-party thing which anonymizes data between SmartBox, aka Grid, and that service. Cool. If there's any other questions, please interrupt me, or interrupt me with just talking about your cats and things as well. I love to hear it. So cool. So 11 Labs, I'm sure you're familiar with them, and I have a short video to basically show the power of using 11 Labs within Grid.
I love having my voice back. I almost cried when I first heard it. It was a very emotional experience.
I'm Sarah's son. I was born in June 2000. So mum was diagnosed with motor neuron disease in April of that year.
The hardest part of living with MND has been losing my speech. I felt like I'd lost my identity. When Dougal asked if I had any recordings of my voice before MND, I sent him a video where I say one line with people talking in the background. I wasn't hopeful at all.
What we were able to use is a technology from a company called 11 Labs, which firstly isolated that voice and then was able to clone it. So now we have a text-to-speech voice, which means Sarah can say whatever she wants to say using her device in her own voice. And you can imagine the impact that has on her.
It really does sound like her, and that's just been so exciting for mum and myself to hear her voice. It's just changed the way she communicates.
I'm so happy to have my identity back thanks to SmartBox and artificial intelligence. I think it's really great to have a voice that sounds like me and not like a robot.
Because it's a lot more expressive, it's a lot more clear how she's feeling. So even when she's annoyed or when she's excited or when she's telling me to do things, it really comes across a lot more how she's feeling with her new voice.
From my experience of living with this disease for 25 years, I always tell people with MND that with good technology and support, anything and everything is possible.
Our intention over the coming years is to continue working on AI features that will continue to be very focused and aim to solve very specific problems that we know AAC users are facing today.
Right. I do really dislike that final really cheesy shot where it's zooming in on us. But anyway, oh, starts again. There we go. So we were basically approached by 11 Labs to ask if we wanted to integrate and be part of their impact program the year before, so 2024. And then in 2025, we released the AI voices within Grid. So kind of building on what we had already done with the Fix tool work was bringing online services into Grid, and we didn't want to basically prevent people from using these, even if there were restrictions around things like the internet connection being patchy or not always available. But we essentially wanted to make sure that if someone did want to have access to one of these voices or had been given access through a charity or through other work, that we would have the integration available. So that is what we worked on, and we were really pleased with the outcome for it. So kind of going back to some of those principles that I talked about, we always make sure we have a fallback voice for when this is not online, but you can hear the quality in these AI voices, and they're always improving as well. So I do have an example. I'm just going to play you mine because you don't know who Becky is. So,
hey there, this is my instant voice, which used about 3 minutes of audio to train.
That's fairly accurate to me. It was about three minutes of audio which we used there. In the video which I just previously showed, Sarah, she makes the point that it was a very short clip of audio that she had from the very early 2000s, I think even into the 90s, where that audio came from. And with very short snippets of audio, you can generate quite a natural sounding voice. And the more audio that you actually give it, the better the quality of that service as well.
Hey there.
James, can
this
I
is my
ask you
instant voice.
something? Oh, sorry.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Could it be that it's more accurate for English speaking persons than it would be in Dutch? Or is that not correct? So that it more resembles your own voice, I mean.
It will. So one of the benefits of sort of European languages is that they all kind of have a lot of the same sounds within them. So we have noticed that people from like France, Germany, I actually haven't heard a Dutch one particular, so I won't absolutely say yes, but we've got French and German speakers using this very accurately, and they're really pleased with the results. And it picks up the language that goes into the writing area when you speak. So it will pull in the natural inflections of that voice as well. So we've seen really good stuff. It also is multilingual, which is something that we weren't really focused on when we started developing it. But it does mean that unlike some of the on-device voices that really either don't pronounce something at all or don't work at all in when you're switching languages, the 11 Labs voices will at least attempt it. But again, for European sounding voices, so you can kind of get away with speaking in French, German, Dutch, and English with one voice model. And the more data you give it, the better and more accurate that voice will be as well. We've seen a lot of people who are donating voices using the 11 Lab service, so like brothers, sisters, friends, and family. So if there isn't a voice available, we've seen people also donate voices like that.
Yeah, because I have noticed that not only with 11 Labs, but with generating voices. I live in Flanders, and often they get an accent from the Netherlands. So that's maybe it would be better for the Netherlands than it would be for Flanders.
So actually, this does go back to another point, which we've got. You obviously know that the UK is full of accents. Mine is just a standard British accent, but many of my colleagues live up in the north of England, where like Mancunian accents, Manchester. I've forgotten the actual location now. Oh, where's he live? Oh, my brain just went completely, and I've forgotten where one of my friends lives. Yes, even with the shorter amounts of audio which you give it, the model will tend to train the voice from the region. So you will notice that there are accents, like it will make people from the north of England sound very posh if there is not enough voice data from the user. So yeah, my colleague who lives up north near Newcastle, that's where he lives, Newcastle, he was very disappointed at first, but then we gave it an hour of his audio. So he'd been speaking on a webinar like this, and once we added in all of that audio, it nailed his voice, and it was far more authentic. So the amount of voice does matter, and if it's a quick voice, it tends to pull in from like English speaking accents. So it tends to make people sound American if they don't have enough audio available. But yes, they are improving, but we have noticed that quite a lot.
I will just add something from Ömer in the chat. He says, in my experience, it will struggle generating particular dialects. For example, I speak Belgian Dutch, but it generates mostly Dutch. But in English, this is more accurate in my experience. Yeah, I think it's also what I meant.
Yeah. And what we're seeing is that they're integrating more models. And one of the things which we've done with the grid integration is that you can choose the model which you're using. So as they roll out more and more improvements over time, hopefully they're improvements anyway, you can choose the model which you're using, and you can adjust it to your preference as well. Okay. So I'm sure you understand why voice matters, and I will briefly go over this part as well, that we do have and I was hoping that Marcel would be here to correct me, but basically every sale of Grid at the moment, and we are making people eligible to be part of their voice programs. So basically all Grid users over the age of 18 can apply for an 11 Labs voice, and it is provided for free on a pro license, I believe, and AAC professionals can apply for pro licenses. I hope that is available where you are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but why not give the QR code a go and see if you can get a free voice from them? It's always worth trying. And these are all the languages that it is available in. Obviously, you need to provide it a lot of data for the less spoken languages, as we just discussed as well. And there's a couple of languages which are not supported as well, Basque and Faroese. But yes, they are aiming to support all of these languages, and we hope that they are working good for you. So a few things that are good to know about using an online voice. First of all, it is online only, and you do need 30 seconds of audio at least to generate that voice. With Sarah, we had under 30 seconds of voice. So what we did was we looped the same piece of voice again and again to get it over their usage. So if you do know a little bit about audio engineering and you've only got very small pieces of audio to work with, it is possible to work with it. For the professional voice, you need at least 10 minutes. And you need a verification step as well, which needs to be done manually for many AAC users. So if you are supporting someone getting an 11 Labs voice, there is a small bit where you do need to basically sit with them to get the 11 Labs to verify the voice. But a few ideas of where to find audio: WhatsApp voice files, voicemail, videos. If someone's decided to start a podcast, that's perfect. But yes, just check back over anything that the user has to find that voice. And over to TJ again.
I just got the 11 Labs voices set up. I love them. I finally have a good voice to use in Finnish. I find myself already super attached to my new voice.
And like I said earlier, TJ, they are a trilingual speaker, so they can use the same voice across all of their AAC now. And then just going back to these 10 points, that using a voice that is familiar to you is very good for self-esteem and emotional well-being. It really provides a richness to conversation. We had a presentation the other day from an Australian AAC user, and the voice that came out of it was incredible. It was an amazing experience just seeing this video with such a rich, deep Australian accent, which was so authentic, which really helps improve connection. So we were really pleased to do this. Right. I should stop for any questions at this point because I can't see the questions, but otherwise I'll move on to the third and final section.
Ömer is typing something, so I think he has a question or a remark. So maybe we should wait.
I will wait for that, and I'll sip my coffee while I wait.
Could you maybe in time show the QR code another time?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's just bounce back to that bit while I wait. Here we go. And you can go onto our website. So if you go to thinksmartbox.com, you can also find all this information as well.
Okay, so Ömer says, I want to add that you have a monthly token limit. This is not something that SmartBox can influence, and the limit is very generous, but it remains a limit.
That is absolutely correct. We have spoken to them a lot about their monthly usage limits, and as well as being able to use API keys, which is a very techie thing to be using, I guess. Some people are very familiar with it, but I don't think my mum would understand what an API key is when setting up a device. So yes, we're trying to influence them to release the limits, but there is a limit to how much they do get used. We've one of the early testers was also using a lot of ChatGPT to write bedtime stories for his children, and he tanked his limit within half a month. But he was speaking very large presentations every night, essentially, using a lot of text. Okay. On to the last section then. So this is a new feature that is not out in Grid yet. It will be released in, if I just check my calendar, we're looking about 8 days away from release. So that is why this section of the presentation is probably not quite as polished, but also I'm really excited to share it with you because you're actually the first bunch of people I've actually talked to about this feature. So we're going to introduce a new feature into Grid called Smart Prompt, which is, well, I'll get into it a little bit. It is a new AI-powered command that you can use to design tools in Grid. You simply write a prompt, an instruction for the AI, and Smart Prompt will generate results that can appear directly in the cells that you choose. So the background to this is that when we were testing the Fix tool, we needed something to prototype with. We're really big on being able to get users involved as soon as possible with all of our development at SmartBox. And when we were looking at the Fix tool has a prompt that works behind it, and we needed to modify that prompt quite quickly to be able to make it and tune it so that it would suit the users who we were testing with and to get it right. But what this actually meant was that we needed a way to inject a prompt into Grid. And when we were doing our testing, we had probably 10 or so testers in the UK. We would have to go to their houses and go to their residences, etc. And we would install a test build of Grid onto their device. And then we would basically demonstrate the Fix tool. But by doing that, we also kind of revealed to them that there was this back end of the tool working. And we had comments from a number of the testers that after we had left, because when we leave a tester, we don't usually leave them with nothing. We leave them with the test build to keep using it. But a number of the testers had just gone into edit mode and immediately started changing what the prompts actually did and playing around with what they could actually do there. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, you're doing it all wrong, this is horrible, please stop, we instead actually said, so what are you trying to do with the tools? And they said they just liked editing and they just liked seeing what they could do with the AI that we'd actually not really planned for in any way. But we continued developing this alongside the Fix tool. So what we're actually releasing is 2 core commands. One is Smart Prompt, which is a command with a prompt inside it, and then a number of response cells. So these are accessible cells which can activate the output of an AI device. So if you're really familiar with editing in Grid, this is fairly exciting because if I just bop to the next screen, you can kind of see what it actually how it works is that you can say, place a prompt in that says, translate the following into French. Do not give any explanation or ask clarifying questions. Do not add any punctuation, and here is your text. So in that, we've created a cell that will run that prompt against what is in the chat writing area, and that's important that it always bops into what the chat writing area has contained in it as well, and then give me one response from that into a response cell. And that will create a translation tool. And that is the real power of what these AI tools do, is that they give you the ability to kind of conversationally ask Grid to do something and then present the responses. We give up to 50 responses, and we've had this in the hands of a number of professionals and users for the last almost year now, making tools and playing around with what you can really do with AI when you're kind of given freedom as creators and freedom as AAC professionals and AAC users as well to do what you would like to do with AI within Grid itself. So in order to support that, we needed some demonstration content. And we'll be releasing a beta version of our Text Talker grid set. So it's a very simple tech keyboard grid set, but with a number of features built from these Smart Prompt tools. Initially, this will be in English only, but they can be translated very quickly. So we're hoping that that gets done just after release, but has a number of AI writing tools involved. So I don't know how much time I've got left. How am I doing for time?
You've got 3 minutes left, if that's
3
okay.
minutes. That is great. That is perfect to just go into a live demo in 3 minutes. So I'm going to stop. No, I'm not going to stop sharing. I'm just going to stop the slideshow and quickly demonstrate these features. So here we have the grid floating on my Mac, which is why it's in a weird little window. And then these are the tools. You can see they're grayed out at the moment. If I just go into here and turn on the AI tools, we now have user accessible consent. This is part of actually using AI tools in general that we have to follow 13 years or older, but also we want to give the user the opportunity to opt in and out of things. So we're using these accessible consent tools now. If I just pop back, go to AI tools, and here we have a number of features. So we can expand text. So obviously I just have quite a large amount of text in there already, so it's not going to expand it that much, but we can try and make it longer. Again, using AI, so we can expand out text. We can adjust text to modify it. So you can make something into a question. I don't know, that just basically added a question mark at the end there, but we can also change the sentence completely, and then we can adjust it again. We can make it happier. Fairly similar again. Or we can translate it. So let's try it into Dutch. I'm hoping that's correct because I don't actually read very much Dutch. But all of these tools have been created using the prompt tool behind the scenes. So if I actually just go into Edit Grid, I don't know how familiar many of you are with grid editing, but if you are familiar with it, you can edit the prompt yourself. You can change the language by just changing the word at this point here. So that can be anything. And it will attempt to translate into those languages, or you can create entirely new prompts. So we worked on this one, which is around similar words, which uses a lot of commands in grid, but that creates a thesaurus effect where you can look up a word. So if I actually go back to grid and take it out of Dutch, so I understand what it is doing. Let's just try a quick sentence and then I will wrap up.
Is it possible that I am using Text Talker AI beta?
That's with my 11 Labs voice as well. We use the similar words. It acts as a thesaurus, and you can quickly change words out to other words as well. And these were all examples which we came up with very quickly using the prompt command. We also added in this my prompts thing, which uses word lists. So if the user themselves wants to create a prompt, you can actually write one yourself by saying, oops, forgot to clear it. Tell me an unusual fact about, bop to the keyboard, spiders, and then hit single response. And again, we can get AI generated responses. Now, these are just a few of the really simple examples which you can do with the AI tools, and we're really excited to see what other people do with them. We've seen a lot from therapists, particularly working in the US, where they're using them alongside as part of co-creation of messages and things. But for now, we just want to release the tool as it stands into Grid and basically see what people creating Grid can actually do with this, because we want to be led by the professional. We want to be led by all those people out there who are working alongside AI's users, or the users themselves, like what the users want from these tools. So if that was 3 minutes, I hope that was end of 3 minutes. I'm going to wrap up there unless there are any questions.
Okay, thank you, James, very much. Are there questions?
Thank you, James. Oh, wait, I'll insert my camera. So my question would be, all the examples that you've shown so far were mostly for text-based communication. In the previous presentation, the people from Assistiveware, they expressed their concern about using AI and word prediction and all these tools for language learners, so younger individuals who use these devices. what is the stance that a SmartBox has on this? And how would you integrate this for symbol-based communicators?
I guess we have similar concerns, really, alongside the use of AI with symbol communicators. But I guess what we're seeing, and particularly with the professionals which we demonstrated the smart prompt tools to, was that there are mindful ways of introducing AI into the co-creation of the language that symbol-based users may be using. So, for example, basically using the AI to generate sentences and then speaking to the user about what words they like within those sentences, and then bringing those words into their vocabularies, which is a bit more fixed, and allowing them to then say those words, like finding more accurate words. So a great example is the word awesome, is that I would use the word awesome, and my dad wouldn't use the word awesome, but the example I was given was that, like, oh, it's a very sort of like my generation thing to say, oh, the user wants to say awesome. And did the user want to say awesome? No. What does a teenager want to say? They want to say something's fire these days or something else. And you can introduce that language by having that co-creation discussion and then bringing that, using it basically to bring in words that might not be available in the vocabularies into those vocabularies. But you can probably gather from that we have focused on text communication. We don't want to hold people back. We do want to see where this goes and where this evolves, and we want to be quite mindful about what we're doing. So that is why we're not putting it like directly into, say, SuperCore or VocoChat or one of our other language models. There is actually nothing stopping you from doing that. Edit mode is there for you to do it. So if we do see people doing that, we don't want to basically judge, but also we're mindful about it. So we do want to make sure that, like, when the time does eventually come to have an AI tool within those things, those vocabularies, we will have considered it and made sure that it has got enough guardrails to ensure that it's producing things at a reliable and consistent rate. And in answer to that question, Omar, so the expand tool was based on some initial work that we did right at the beginning of our research project, where there is a really good paper, what's it called? The Less I Type, the Better, which was written by Richard Cave and some folk from Google around keyword expansion, which basically says that if you add in the keywords, so if I say more coffee and you press expand, it should say, I would like more coffee, please. And it had really good responses from the testers who they had during that paper. And then when we demonstrated it, we felt that it wasn't suitable for the users which we were working on, which is why we went down the fixed tool route. But actually, when we came back to working on the smart prompt and working alongside some of our other users, they actually did appreciate it. So that's why we actually added that back into our grid set at that point. And the actual prompt itself is quite simple. It's basically saying, take the keywords, expand them out, but we never speak it straight away. We always give you 4 choices before you make a decision of what you want to say, and you can always edit it afterwards as well.
Okay.
No worries. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I will wrap up.
Yes, okay. I think it would be fine to wrap up. Thank you so much.